Hey everyone, Teresa here with LB to tell you a little bit about this week's Petite project post. And it's the second in our series of learning how to diagnose fit issues because, like I said last week, it's, I think, a really good starting point because if you're not familiar with really analyzing and recognizing any fit issues that you may have, then you don't the next step isn't clear. So if we clarify this point first, then we can move forward and be more confident in choosing the size that'll fit our frame, or at least the size that will give us the look that we want, and it'll give us a firm grounding in how to proceed and move forward to manipulate the clothes the way we want them to be. So last week we looked at shoulders, back, and arms because those are really important things to consider when you're thinking about how something's going to fit you, because it'll tell you a little bit about the shape of your frame or the size of your frame, which for a lot of petite women is a fit issue. Many times your shoulders or the depth or the depth of your arm side, things like that, are smaller than the bust circumference size would presume that you are. And this week we're talking a little bit more about torso lengths. So looking at those, including the really kind of important back waist length, which is sometimes it sounds like a small difference, but the larger in bust size you go, the greater back waist length they presume that you have. So in some cases that may make a difference, particularly on the front of your body. So the front waist length would change depending on your bust size, because the more tissue you have in an area of your body, the more length has to go over that part of your body, if that makes sense. But on your back, most people aren't shaped the same way as they are on their front. So that may compound an issue, particularly as you get to the larger size end. So for petite plus women, that might be something to really consider. So I talk a little bit about that, and in a couple of weeks there's something special coming to clarify a little bit more about that. But back waist is something kind of important. It's a little tricky to figure out and measure for yourself, but we went over that in February, and I've linked back to some of that stuff if you'd like to double check. So essentially it's tying some sort of string or putting a belt or something on where your waist is so that it marks it out, so that it's nice and clear for you, so that when you measure from that bone in the back of your neck down with the tape measure, on your body, you can figure out your back waist length, and that would be a little bit of a clue as to if perhaps that might be part of a root of an issue for you. Next week we're going to start talking about circumferences, which is important because all of course, our measurements and our shapes are tied to each other, and it will make a difference in ultimately how we have to choose the shape or create the shape that we want in our sweaters or anything that's going to fit that part of our body. But also, when we talk about the circumferences, I touch on hips as well, because, sometimes you may want to knit something for your bottom half, but also the consideration is for the length of a sweater, because sometimes there's sweater styles that are intended to be longer, right? Or even if a sweater style is intended to hit at the top of your hip, as a petite person, perhaps you've got a short back waist length, or maybe you're just overall small, and thus something that was intended to fit someone who's 5'6" at their hip line is more sort of down at your full hip, or maybe even lower, right? So that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about the vertical lengths in your torso, which we go over this week, and then next week those circumferences. So that's what that's about, and I'm just going to scroll down because I happen to be in front of my computer right now because Elby and I are chilling, and I want to share with you the question for this week, and to get you thinking a little bit more on this topic and looking at the way clothes fit you, whether it's from a store or whether it's from stuff that you've made for yourself. So the question for this week is, do you have expertise in fitting? Maybe you have questions about determining your fit issues. If so, please head on over to the Petite Project group and Ravelry, because I've just created, well, the group has been created for a while, but I've created a thread just so that people can connect with each other, because I know that it's been, and I'm still working on it, a journey of figuring out the way that my body is shaped, like my bone structure and just how everything works, and then the effect that has on clothes, and then being able to manipulate the clothes to fit me the way that I want it to. Sometimes it's difficult to tell that by myself, and I know that I've pretty much gained the most confidence in figuring that out when I've had an objective person and an expert look and say, oh, well, I think maybe your back is narrow or your shoulders are sloped or something like that. So what I hope is that the Knit Petite Project Ravelry Group would be a place for us to meet and chat and connect and share information, particularly in this area because it is really helpful to connect people who have expertise in fit issues and then people who have questions, right? So over last week and then the next few weeks, it'd be a really great place and a really great thread to connect with people. So I invite you to hop on over there, whether you're an expert or whether you have questions. And of course, always in a body positive and non-judgmental way to chat about this so that we can get information about ourselves, and knowledge is power, and get those tools to be able to make things fit us the way we want them to. So thanks for tuning in to the Knit Petite Project. I'm sorry that he's so squawky, but he'd be even squawkier if he wasn't here with his mom. So thanks for tuning in. If you want to get in touch with me, I'm pretty much all over the place as Canary Knits. And if you have expertise that you think should be added to any of the posts, particularly the ones within May, let me know, because I want the Knit Petite Project to be as representative and accurate and collaborative as possible. So get in touch with me. You can find me all over the place as Canary Knits, and the home base is, of course, canaryknits.com/knitpetiteproject. Thanks so much, everyone. I'll see you next week.